Here's what it looks like coming out of the box. This is what it looks like after I take it out of the box. So I'm going to have to take all the pieces. And I thought it came with something plastic. This is why videos like this are helpful, because you can't always tell what's going on. Be careful when you remove these off of the sides here, because this is really heavy and it fell on my nice tabletop and it could have scratched it. So just be aware of that. Plus it makes a loud noise, so if you're doing this when the baby's sleeping, it's going to wake the baby up. Okay, here's what everything looks like unpackaged. All of these little pieces. It's kind of nice to see. I didn't know the drawers also had liners as well as the top. So that's going to be really nice. And over here we have the legs and the shelf for the top and the two, whoops. Oh, another thing fell off. I'm glad the baby wasn't sleeping. Okay, when you take this out, apparently that slams down. So I did not see that when I was unpacking it. So here we go. We have two drawers and all these little I think these help with the rails. I think these rails help with the sliders for the drawers and also to put the legs in. And I imagine there's some kind of little, little feet with rubber bottoms that will help it so it doesn't scratch your furniture. And I imagine these are what hold things together. All right, let's look at the instructions. The instructions look like they might be well written. I will let you know my opinion in just a moment. And this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Get the idea? It's very nice. See, it even has the drawers. That's going to be so handy. And you'll see why that's going to be handy for me in just a moment. Okay, the first thing that was as clear as mud to me in these instructions is which way was the top. And this on the pole is the top with a little rounded edge here. And another thing that wasn't clear was how many of these grooves do they want me to put these little, what they call slip sleeves. They come looking like this. They come apart like this, and they have a direction on them that says top. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you have to put these in the direction of that. This is the bottom because it's flat, and this is the top because it's round. So I'm still yet to figure out whether I have to put one of these on every single one of these grooves, and because it doesn't specify that, I'm going to have to count all of these and count all of these grooves and figure out what the purpose of this little slip sleeve is to be able to tell you that. So that's going to save you some time. Another little funny thing is that there's a little bit of a gap on one side of this slip sleeve. I can't seem to be able to get this part completely closed, and it seems to be because this is maybe a little fatter at this end than it is at this end. Another thing is it's not very plain telling you whether you will be lined between this will be lined up between these two lines, or like it seems to be here when I slid it, like it says move the sleeves slightly up and down until it snaps into position. It seems to be that it likes the middle position. So it seems to be that whatever groove, whatever thing fits into this to make it snap is right in the middle here somewhere. So hopefully that's been of assistance somehow. Okay, as I promised, I counted all of these. I found out there were supposed to be 16 pair of these little slip sleeves. See all the little happy pairs? And I've put these on already. So to answer your concerns, what do these things do? They seem to hold the different shelving units. So this, which is angled and has a bit of a taper, is going to go down through down through this all the way down and fit on top of this so as to be a brace for the shelving units. And there will be a set of 4 braces all the way up each pole. Makes sense mathematically, right? So that's what keeps this thing stable. And no, these never did totally close all the way, but they seem to have snapped in place and seem to be fitting on there snugly. Now, just so you get an idea how those little slip sleeves are going to fit, you can see that that bar that I just told you about is going to slip down over these 2 legs, and the slip sleeve is what's going to hold it in place. And then the next one is going to have a bar, or not a bar, but a drawer slider that will hold the drawer in place and allow it to slide in and out. And so these 4 slip sleeves will hold that drawer, and another 4 will hold this drawer, and another 4 will hold this shelf. Okay, now this is what it looks like after you slide this little bar over the slip sleeve. As you can see, it's still sticking out. Now that is what explains this little gap. Why do you have this little gap? Because when you push this down, and I went ahead and put the little feet on because they're rubberized, and I'm going to have to put some pressure when I stand this up. As you can see, when I stand this up, I don't want it to make my table all messed up, and I'm going to have to, it's standing on its own, I'm going to have to push this down over top of the slip sleeve, and that's why they call it a slip sleeve, because it's going to slip, something's going to slip over it. And so I'm pushing as hard as I can to get that to go down a little bit. Now it doesn't seem to want to go down very firmly, but I can see I have more here and less here, less here and more here. So I'm going to have to get this one down at least as far as this one, so I don't want it to be crooked looking. So that gives you the idea of what those slip sleeves are going to do. They're going to hold this in place quite snugly. So that's not going to come apart like I kind of worried about when I saw that they weren't fully grabbing on. Okay, there's another problem with the instructions. It doesn't tell you where on these poles that you're going to put the next set of slip sleeves. So it doesn't tell you to count up so many. So I'm going to have to do that for you. I'm going to have to count these on the picture and then sort of measure the depth of each of these drawers to make sure that I have plenty of room in between. Okay, I'm encountering a problem with that idea. I don't want this drawer to be on the bottom of the rail where it will be scraping. So when I used the picture to count, I counted from this one up, and it ended up being 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But as we can see, that's going to be nowhere close enough. So even 5 isn't going to work, and because I believe it has to slide, yeah, it has to hook onto this. The bar will have to hook right here. So it's going to be 6 from the one above this particular rung after this is placed on. Because I've already put this together, I can't tell you for sure the number here. I'm thinking this is 1 groove, or not groove, but 1 in-between space between the grooves, 2 in-between spaces in between the grooves, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But to be absolutely sure, what I suggest is counting from this point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So put it in this groove right here. Okay, there's another consideration that the instructions don't warn you of. If you think that you're going to put this bar on top, as you can see, I've got the one over there. Of course, right now I've got this on the wrong way. This has to be facing inwards so you can have your drawer. But there is a way to get this wrong with this facing inside, and I'll show you that in a minute. But because I've already put this on for you as a demonstration, in order for me to demonstrate this problem, I have to do it the opposite way. All right, so you know that you've got it on wrong if this top looks like it's, you know, too big for this upper pole. It should, the fat end needs to come down here and the skinny end needs to go at the top. So I'm going to reverse this, and it is possible to get this wrong even if you have this rail on the inside, this drawer rail. Okay, so now you can see there's a bit less room here, and if I put it down, you're going to see I'm going to be able to put that, slide that down properly. Okay, here's another area that will hang you up. You need to have this facing towards the front because you're going to slide your drawer in this hole. So make sure you have these both facing forward. This is the back, this is the front. This is the back because it keeps the drawer from going any further backwards. So you need to have two fronts, two holes open on one side and two backs on the other side. And just flipping this over, as I demonstrated earlier, will not work because this has a fat side and a skinny side. The fat side of the tube goes towards the bottom and the skinny side goes towards the top, so it will fit over this slip sleeve. So I had to go find a different one, and now we'll try that. So there you have it. That's what it looks when you get the side rails on, and this is how it looks when you slide the drawer in. Now, see, it's going to stop in the back, so that is why you have to have the two stoppers in the back and the two open ends in the front. You can pick, it doesn't matter. But just be aware that not every bar is going to work. You're going to have to flip them and try them until you get the proper bar. Now, as you can see, this is a little off level. Could be my floor, could be this thing. So that gives you the ability, if you want, to level it by unscrewing these legs a little bit, and you can fiddle with that if it's important to you. And as you can see, oh lovely, these little drawer liners, that one fits really well, so maybe that's for the top drawer because this one doesn't fit. So you're going to have to play with this a little bit. There. So you're going to have to play with those to find the right drawer liner for the right drawer. And the upper drawer is a little bigger, obviously. Okay, so getting excited, getting close. Excuse my mess over on the table. I'm doing some sorting. All that stuff over there is going to go inside of these drawers. I have to decide where on this pole I'm going to stick this drawer. And so I suppose you want enough room to be able to get your hands in between the two drawers and the drawer and the actual top to the entire unit. So I'm going to put the top on and kind of judge it with my eyeball and then tell you what I thought fit for me. You could probably do whatever you wanted to do. As you can see, this is going to be a little lower than this, but I'm not going to press this down, but I wanted to give you an idea of where this drawer might fit best. There are 10 lines or grooves between here and the top. So you could do the natural thing and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and put it in the middle, which is logical. And how does that look? I guess it depends on if you want more room on top to get things out, or if you want more room on the bottom to be able to get stuff out. But it doesn't really matter because they're going to be able to slide out. So you could just do it for to be aesthetically pleasing. You could put it a little lower, you could put it a little higher. See, if you put it really high, you have all of this space in between here to put things. And if you do it right in the middle, you have an equal amount of space. I guess for things to be able to stick out, I guess, if you had tall items to put in there. You know, if you put it up here, you wouldn't be able to put a tall item in there in this thing, but you'd be able to put a taller item in that drawer. So I guess if you don't know the future of what you're going to put in there, I would put it right smack dab in the middle, which is what I'm going to do. Here's what it looks like, all put together. Also, you notice I have a really huge gap between here and here, and that's because I decided to go ahead and count 6 up and give more space in here. I don't know, you may end up wanting more space between here and here to be able to sit things that are bigger on top. And that might be a good idea if you want to, say, set some kind of pencil jar or something up here, which makes more sense than putting one down in here, because you're going to probably fill this full of things that will topple over anything. So that would be my suggestion. But for me, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of this mess that is over here and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to show you how it looks, and everything will be happy and organized. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it in my own personal usage. And I thought you also need to know that these things come for your use if you want to stack one on top of the other. So you can get 2 sets of these, and you can just stick these little stackers in to the bars so that you can put one on top of the other instead of screwing this thing in, I suppose. So let's take a look at what happens next. Okay, I noticed one thing that's displeasing to me. This is not wide enough for a piece of paper or a magazine or a manila envelope to sit in there flat. That was my whole point, was to put papers in this thing, because I tend to collect a lot of paperwork and books and things. Now it'd be great for smaller books, notepads, various little small items that don't roll around too much, because they won't go through here, but they'll come out the front. So just be aware of that. If you don't mind, if these papers are not going to be something you want to save and you're afraid that they'll get wrinkled, such as when I'm doing projects, I sometimes print things out and I want to actually be able to put them into a notebook nice and flat and pretty. This is not the use for that. This is okay for maybe your stacks of bills that you haven't sorted through. You're just going to put them there as a temporary measure. So, you know, it's a neat, really neat thing. As long as this bending happens, it's not going to work for some things. I mean, if you don't mind your magazines to be all wrinkled up, then by all means I would use it. Good idea in premise, but if they had just made it maybe an inch or so bigger, it would have been much better.